Today we're going to discuss some topics that are common in statistics, specifically mean, median, mode, range, and outlier. These are often used together with sets of data to kind of simplify how we think about different sets of numbers. So mean is often called the average. If you're just talking about it in a common setting, you would probably call it average. However, the median and the mode could also be considered an average. So this word I don't use in math class anymore because I want to be more specific. So we've given them specific names, mean, median, and mode, which we use in statistics instead of the word average. With the mean, what we're going to do is take a set of numbers, we're going to add all of those together, and then we're going to divide it by the amount of numbers. We'll do examples of each of these in just a moment. I want to show you a quick physical example of mean. You can see that I've got some piles here of pennies and they are very uneven. So with the mean, we want to make each one of these piles have exactly the same amount of numbers. And we do that by adding all the numbers together, which in this example would be like putting all these pennies into a single pile, and then dividing it by the number of numbers we had. We had 5 piles, so we're going to divide this out into 5 separate piles. And when we do that, we end up with exactly the same number in each of the piles. With the median, that is the number that is exactly in the middle of the data set. Now, when you're gathering data, your numbers typically don't happen in order. So you need to make sure that you place those numbers in order to make it easier to find the median. The mode is the number that occurs the most, and the range is the distance from the largest to smallest, which we can figure out just by subtracting those two numbers. An outlier is a number that is either far larger or far smaller than the rest of our data. So we're going to look at our data, and again, it helps if it's in order, and see if there's one that seems much larger or much smaller. So let's do a couple of examples of these. We're going to start by doing the mean. Now, with the mean, what we do is take our data set and we're going to add them all together. So I put these plus signs there. You don't need to do that. But when we sum those up, we get a total of 47. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different numbers on this. If we take our sum and divide that by 9, that will give us our mean. So 47 divided by 9 gets us a total of 5.2 repeated. The median is the middle number, and you'll notice that I've put these numbers in order to kind of speed us up. So I'm going to make marks here. Some people cross these off. I like to just make a mark above each of the numbers. So I'm going to mark off on each side until I get to the middle, and that middle number will be our median. So let's mark these off, and I like to angle them so I can see when I get to the middle that those two things will be angled and pointed towards the middle number. And we can see that that number right there is the one that is exactly in the center. There are 4 numbers on this side, 4 numbers on that side, so this is exactly the center. Our median in this case is 3. The mode on this one is the number that occurs the most often. We can see that ones happen 3 times on this example. So we've got 1, 2, 3 ones. That makes it our mode because there are no other numbers that occur that many times. So the mode on this one is 1. And the range, we're going to take our largest number and our smallest number and figure out how far they are. That's just 26 minus 1 in this case. 26 minus 1 happens to be 25. And then outlier is a number that is far larger or smaller than the rest, and we can see that this 26 is far larger than any of the rest of the numbers right here. All right, there does not have to be an outlier, by the way, so this might not have an answer sometimes. So the outlier on this one is 26. Now, the last portion of this question could ask, what is the best measure of center? Center is, of course, a word that means in the middle. And these are supposed to be numbers that kind of describe where is the middle of this data set. And you will notice on this one that the median occurs in the middle of this while the mean is way over here. 5.2, if we put that in our list, would be here. So this one does not sit in the middle. So the median is a better measure of the center. Now the reason for that is because of that outlier. So keep in mind, make a little note of this. When you have an outlier, it usually makes the mean kind of go out of place, which in this case it did that. We'll see that this one, the mean is much more in the center. So the median is our best measure of center on this one. All right, let's do our next one. We're going to again add these all together. When we do that, we get 110. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different numbers. So we're going to divide that by 6. 110 divided by 6 is 18.3 repeated. And that is our mean. Okay, our median again, these are in order, so I'm going to make the little marks towards the center. And you'll notice that these two numbers share the center, or the center is actually in between those. So when that happens, we're going to find out what number would be exactly in the center. Exactly in between 19 and 21 would be the number 20, because 20 is one away from that and one away from that. If you couldn't calculate that in your head, the easiest way to get that is to add those together and divide. We're going to find the mean of those two numbers. So 19 plus 21 gives us 40, and 40 divided by 2 is 20. So our median in this case is 20. All right, our mode is the number that occurs most often. Now you'll notice that each one of these numbers only occurs once. There is no number that occurs more than the others, so there is no mode. The range is the distance from the smallest to the largest. Between 36 and 2, we get 36 minus 2, which is 34. And outlier, we can see that there is no number that sticks out far, far from the rest of them. So this one does not have an outlier. Last question, what's the best measure of center? Well, you'll notice that 18.3 falls far closer to the center on this one than our previous example. So either mean or median would be a good measure of the center on these. So I would probably choose mean when there is no outlier, and the median when there is an outlier. Thank you very much.